thought I'd come on and give a really quick Saturday afternoon review of where I am on a couple of my projects. I'm making these cards. I started them in my Thursday early morning live. I showed this in my Friday night live stream. This is a finished card. I used Dirty Dozen art prompt for the background in here. I do have a Tim Holtz die cut, my little hello, some table scatter, table confetti pieces over here, and then I have some ribbon that I got at that liquidation sale. It's sort of a light sheer ribbon, but it goes really nice with these colors, and then a pearl flat back in the back in there. And this really pretty trim right here. I got that on sale at Hobby Lobby. So I'm working on my cards. I have 25 of these to do. This is the first one that I have finished. So, hello. Now I'm working on my little skunk pincushion. And I'm using a pattern that Aunt Beck at AuntBecscreations shared in her Tuesday afternoon sewing series that she's doing. And she got this pattern off of Pinterest. Neither one of us claim copyright to the pattern. It's just out there for people to use. I will give a link to it also in the description box below. And I will give a link to Aunt Beck's sewing session. And this is for a hedgehog. Now, a couple weeks ago in one of our live streams, we made a list of animals. And one of the animals was a skunk. And so we thought, I gotta do a pincushion doll of a little skunk. Well, this little hedgehog pattern will convert really nice into a skunk. So that's what I'm doing. So I have this plaid fabric that I've been using, or I want to use for Papa Pierre. And I have plenty of it. So I could use the back for the skunk, but I thought I'm gonna make me a little plaid skunk. He'll match Papa Pierre. He'll be Papa Pierre's pet, I think. So I'm using that. And then last night, which was Friday night, September 28th, in my live stream, I dyed some brown eyelash yarn. I dyed it black because skunks are black. And I dyed it with this Handy Art Black Velvet Waterproof India ink. I got that at Hobby Lobby. And while it did not stiffen the little hairs on this in the same way that the acrylic ink stiffened the paint, the little hairs like on Papa Pierre, it still sort of stiffened it. So one of my next steps, because I want to use this on my little skunk, one of my next steps is to kind of go through and comb out these little eyelash hairs, because he's going to be on the little skunk. And I'm also going to use this. Now, this is nice and fluffy. I do not have to, but combined together, I think it'll make a nice little skunk. So, and what I've noticed, well, let me show you first. Here's where I am on the pincushion. Let me put him down here. Let's turn this paper there. Here's where I am on my little, we've named him Pepe Le Pew, of course, after the famous little Pepe Le Pew skunk. So this is Pepe Le Pew. And here he is. Now, last night in my live stream, which was the September 28th Friday night live stream, I cut out the pattern, and I didn't think that I was going to match the plaids, but I did. They match perfectly. So I'm really happy about that. I last night also started basting. Now you can see I basted down here. I did that this morning. But I find when you're using, I don't have any felt around. A piece of felt would have ideally been the perfect solution to use for this. But I didn't have felt. Well, because this fabric is frayed and it has the lining in there, it has interfacing in there, which I like for a pincushion, but I had to fold it under. And in order to do that basting, I would really encourage, I'm not a professional sewer, I'm not even a a really good hobby for this sewer, but I did learn how to baste. And I find that traditionally basting has been taught to sewing students, and my mother taught me how to baste. She made me baste. And when you do that, you get rid of all those pins. Now, in more recent times, even the professional sewers will stitch up to the pin. Sometimes they'll stitch over it if it's not the head of the pin, or they'll get right up to it and then they'll pull the pin out, and they won't baste. But I like to baste. I think when you baste, you get a good feel for how your piece is going to turn out, and you can go back and make any corrections. So I'm at the point now to where I put my blanket stitch in, and I'm pretty happy with my blanket stitch. The further along I went, the better I got with it. My first ones are not all that good, but it's been a long time since I've done this. I'm not unhappy with it, and by the time I get this eyelash yarn on, a lot of this stitching won't even show. I did, when I basted all the way around here. But when I did my blanket stitching, and I'm not sure you can tell it, I did the blanket stitch up to here, then I drew my thread over about 1 inch and then continued, and that left a little gap in here. And because I'm doing a skunk and not a hedgehog, I'm going to give this little skunk a tail. And here's what I want to do. Here's a picture that I got off of Pixabay of a skunk. And if you look at the skunk, his stripe on this little skunk does not go right down the center of the back. The stripe actually starts up here on the head, and he's got a little white tuft on the head. And I'm going to try to do that with this eyelash yarn. And then there's a stripe that goes around one side and a white stripe that goes around the other side. And the black stripe goes right down the back. And that's where I'm going to use this black. And look at that bushy tail. So speaking about the tail, I have this really thin wire. And what I want to do is I want to make a tail to fit in this little gap right in there. Now, what I'm puzzling over, and I think I know what I'm going to do, is do I want to cut a double piece like this to cover this wire? And it would look something like that. But I think that's a lot of trouble. I think what I'm going to do is cut a piece. I'll probably just cut a tail piece. I'll probably curve it, make a big teardrop tail maybe. Something like that. And then I'm going to pull out the interfacing. Let's just pull a little section of it out if I can. I'm going to pull out the interfacing, and then I'm going to tuck this piece and this piece under and do my stitching that way. That way I only have 2 layers of fabric instead of 4. So the tail is what I'm going to work on next. I'm going to work on brushing out some of this eyelash yarn so it'll be nice, and I don't think it'll be perfectly fluffy, but it won't be stuck together either. And some of this, although it's not as bad, it needs combed out. He needs a comb out. So that's what I'm going to be working on this afternoon. I just wanted to share with you briefly what I'm working on this afternoon. I also want to do a video for tomorrow morning, Sunday. So it'll be Sunday, September the 30th, I believe. Oh my goodness, where are these days going to? Oh my goodness. So there's where I'm at on this. I just wanted to share. I'll be putting the eyelash yarn and the tail on, and the black hair down the back, and maybe a little of that white here for that tuft there on the front. That little skunk, the white stripe actually starts on his head. I'll be doing all of that before I even stuff it. So, thank you for watching, and I will see you tomorrow morning.